Hey everybody, welcome to the Desktop Dynasties training camp. This video we're actually going to play some games, and we're going to talk through and show how do you get the most out of your games and what are all the options you can use. So as you can see, again, I'm on the Iverson 051 build. As builds move forward, some of these options might change, or there may be some slightly new ones or things like that, but in general everything's going to stay pretty consistent. So we have a league, so we're going to load our league again. And we're going to go right to our schedule. And you can see we're in the preseason, but that's okay. Everything's going to be the same whether you're in the regular season, preseason, or the playoffs. You have two options here, which both use the game engine. You can either watch a game or you can play a game. And we're going to play first. And then we'll come back and we'll watch a game from somebody else, and you can see how the two sort of relate to each other and what's different and what's the same about the two. So we're the Tree Frogs again, and we're playing the Iceberg. So to play your game, you just click Play My Game. And what this does is it just starts up the human, whatever game the human-owned team is in, that's what game it goes to. If you're in the playoffs and you don't have a game, it won't do anything. So play my game, and you immediately come into the game screen. The bottom here is what's called is sort of the play calling interface down here. At the top is the scoreboard, and then you can look over here. You have, I guess I call them these more like the TV controls in the upper left hand corner. In the upper right hand corner you have the bailout button, sim to end. And we'll look at all of these as we get going. But in general, the way this works is you click on a play in the playbook, and then your guys line up to do the play. And then you hit the big green call play button will show up when it's ready to actually start the play. I'm not going to click it yet because there's a couple of things we can look at. Actually, you know what? I changed my mind. We are going to call this play. You just click it, and the game starts. And the players play on their own because this is it's a coach mode type game. And first play, we're going for a touchdown. All right. This will show this blue bar down here. I guess the blue text is what we're calling the play log. It sort of tells you what happened during the play. So, we got the touchdown, so we're going to kick the extra point. We click field goal. It lines up. Now, before I click to kick it, let's look at the TV controls. You'll see three arrows here. What these three arrows are is view. These are the view controllers. So we're right now, you click up, we're in the up view controller, right? This is kind of the standard, football game, look from behind the offense up the field. If you click sideways, this is kind of the TV, I guess, sideline view, which is why it's sideways. And you can play the game in this view too, but it's just a different way of looking at it. And then the diagonal is more of like an old, the older coach football games, just this diagonal view, and it's kind of fun to watch things that way. And you can do it in any way. So we'll just leave it in diagonal view for this play. Click call play, and it just runs the play, just like normal. So we're going to try to kick off again. We're going to try to get a little farther into this game before we look at some of the other options. To be fair, this Tree Frogs team has been developed to have an excellent special teams. Alright, so we'll look at this from the defensive perspective. Calling plays for defense is just like calling plays for offense. Except you have fewer plays. On defense, you only have one page of plays. You have 7 plays. And that's by design so that each team has a different style of defense, and they actually feel different. We're going to call this Zone CB Handoff. And one thing you might notice is every time you click it, you may see the offense shift around. Every time you do something, basically it's giving the offense a free chance to call a new play. That might at first feel a little suspect. And if you're used to playing football games where you control the players, that probably would be kind of suspect. The difference is you don't control the players here, so it really doesn't matter if you feel like you just found a really good mismatch as a coach, because you don't get to tell the players what to do. They're going to figure out what to do on their own, and they may or may not make the right decision. So that's kind of something that takes a little getting used to when you're playing this game. So we're not going to play it in this mode. We're going to go back to up mode, because this is I find this mode really good for seeing what's going on. The others are really good for if you're just watching and you just kind of want to, I don't know, I guess enjoy the game. Those modes are good. So before we call the play, let's look at some of these other things. So this little button that has been used for profile and other screens is kind of similar. Think of it as the player. Think of it as the information button is a good way of putting it. So if I click this, it tells me everything about the players on the field that is really important right now. So it tells me their name, it tells you what their depth is, and it puts a little button for what's the coach's, I guess, his estimate for how good they are at that position right now. And you can see, like, linebacker 1 Lozano is kind of the strength of my defense. He's my top linebacker. He's rated 81. He's better than anybody else on my defense. So he's pretty good. Whereas if you look at my defensive lineman, Shea, he's a 55. He's probably a weakness on my defense. You look at their team and you can see, oh my goodness, they have a great offensive line. They have some really good skill players. But those wide receivers are kind of suspect. So you could use this information in your play calling now. I know I probably don't need to worry that much about getting burned by their wide receivers. Now I can adjust my play calling accordingly. So that's the information button. That shows up on offense and defense. If you remember, this is a pass protect button. This is also pass rush. And what that means is these little pink and purple circles under my defensive line tells you what type of rush they're doing. And by clicking this, I put them in pass rush. And what that means is they're going to do everything they can to get around the offensive line. The arm, like this is used for run blocking in the coach hiring screen. It's also used for set them to run rush. And now they're purple. And what run rush is they'll try to have some more lane discipline. They're not going to run wild trying to get around. What they're going to try to do is push through the offensive line, keeping lane discipline. So if I do that for one play, you can see they're kind of holding up the line. They get mauled because they're terrible. But that was their style. Whereas if I go pass rush this time, you can see they get a little wilder. They kind of try to go sideways. It was a running play, so it was kind of hard to see. But they didn't stay in their lanes and try to push forward. So that's what those are. The other button you see is the sub button. This is in-game substitutions. And the way this works is you can click sub and then it turns into plays and you can go back. Think of this as a quick sub system, right? Defensive line 2 was terrible for my team. So maybe I want to sub somebody in for him. Here's a list of all the players that are in on this play. And defensive line 2 is one of them, and I don't like him. So I click on defensive line 2. He automatically shows up at the top as current. He's the current defensive line 2. If I click linebacker 1, it changes. If I click linebacker D-line, cornerback 2, it shows him. Linebacker D-line 2. He's the one that's terrible though, so I'm going to sub him out. These next 4 players are the 4 players on my roster who don't have an offense or defensive depth chart assignment. So these are think of these truly as the 4 players who are standing on the sideline ready to come in. They're usually going to be terrible, but I found sometimes it's good to keep a couple of guys on your bench for special situations. And this is the time when you would get to call those guys in. So if you look at their skills, let's say, is a really good way of doing it. You say, I'm on defense. Raymond Shea's terrible. He's getting pushed around. I need a guy with some strength to really deal with this run. So I hit sub, I hit D-line 2, and now I look who's got some strength. Oh, this Ernie Kaufman, it's not as good of a technique for his running, but he's much stronger. And the way this game's going, I need him. So what you do is you just click the sub button, and now he's subbed into my team. I go back to plays, and now if I look at the information, Kaufman is now in a D-line. And you can do that as many times as you want. You can sub guys in, so now if I go sub again and I say that was a terrible mistake, you can see Shea is there I can sub him back in if I want, or I can say, well, Kaufman wasn't the right call. Maybe DeMarcus Griffin was the guy. I sub him in, go back to plays, and now Griffin is in there. So you can do that as many times as you want until you get your, maybe you do it every couple of plays. Maybe you have, oh my goodness, maybe you have a passing quarterback and you also have a running quarterback. And when you get to running situations, you sub in the running quarterback. When you get to passing situations, you sub in the passing quarterback. There's a ton of ways to use that system. And what we're going to do now is we're actually just going to keep calling plays really quickly to try to get on offense. And the only thing you need, there's a slight concern with just hammering away on buttons, as there are with most things, especially in Windows. The only thing you really need to worry about with going too fast here is when the guy's laying down, you call a play, at least wait till he stands up to hit call play. Most of the time, nothing's going to happen if you hit it too quick. Once in a long while, it'll count him as still being tackled. It's pretty rare, but it's one of those things. All right, so let's hope I don't return it for a touchdown, so I can actually run some offense. Yeah, he's gonna get caught here. All right. So doing an offense is pretty much the same, except you have 3 pages of plays, right? And it's not a ton of plays, but it's enough that I've added some filters. So if I know I want to pass, I click pass plays, and it only shows pass plays now. If I know I want to run, I click run plays, and it's only run plays. Options, I don't have any option plays, but if I had option plays, only the options would show up. And then special teams, if I want to kick a field goal or punt at any time, I can. So let's just say for this I want to run. And I want to run my favorite play, which is this quarterback sweep play. The bright red line is the ball carrier. That's the runner. So like if I click dive, the running back is the runner. If I click end around, the wide receiver is the runner. The dark red line is a lead blocker. So you can see the running back's a lead blocker there. He's a lead blocker that way. If I do this one, both these wide receivers are lead blockers. All these other guys are just in pure run block. Lead blockers are running, and then they block somebody. If you go to pass plays, these colors represent the pass progression. So it goes from green to dark blue. So green is the number 1 read. Light blue, number 2. Medium blue, number 3. Dark blue, number 4. So as you look through these, you can see who the number 1 read is and who the next one is. And depending on how fast your quarterback reads or how fast guys get open, the guys in the dark blue and the medium blue generally get fewer looks than the first 2 guys, which makes sense. If you go to a screen play, this is kind of like a running play. The bright green is obviously the top read, the top receiver. But instead of the dark red, you have this dark green. And that just means he's in screen block mode. It's just like lead block, except for screen plays. So he's going to run till he gets here or until the ball is thrown. And when that happens, either he gets here or the ball is thrown, he's going to set up and start blocking. Whereas this guy we'll just run this just for fun. This guy will run his receiving route. He'll wait for the pass. He'll run a blocking route. And then when I throw or I run, they all start blocking and things. Here's how it's different from, let's just say, a sweep run here. He's going down a block. He just starts running the ball, and everybody else just immediately starts blocking. So that's how these plays work. They're pretty simple. They show you a little diagram of what's happening before you call it. So you can pick. Be careful. Don't call the same play a whole bunch of times, or the computer will start to catch on. Here's a standard pass play, what it looks like. Guys running their routes. Your quarterback, when he starts turning, I'll call it again so you can see that. Let's call this one. When he starts turning quickly, that's telling you who he's looking at in the pass route. He's looking, nobody's open, he's going to take off running. So that's what you're seeing there. Up here, you may notice it shows the down and distance, but it also shows this parentheses number, this 20. What that means is this is the 20th play of this game. There's no clock, but games are only 50 plays long, unless there's a tie, and then you keep playing until there's no tie. So 20 plays. We're 20 plays in. I know there's 30 plays left at least. That's to sort of help you manage what you're calling. It's like maybe I want to call an end around right now. End arounds are kind of fun. They don't always. It's kind of a lot, or it's nothing. You get burned on those a lot. But anyway, yeah. So that's what that is. Now what else is left? There's this watch mode, and when I turn watch mode on, it's turned on now. I haven't engaged it because I was at the play calling, and I have to actually call this play before watch mode takes effect. But I'll call the play. My guy's running. He gets tackled. Another play is immediately called, and he keeps running. This is like TV mode here. The coach is now calling all of my plays for me, and I can just sit back and watch, and the game will go on. And this is one of those where, play calling maybe isn't super interesting to you, but your players are super interesting, and maybe this is a good case for, maybe I'll switch it to another view. I don't have to worry about play calling. I don't have to worry about matchups. I just want to see my guys play. That's what watch mode's for. Maybe I want to go angle, right? And you just kind of watch it. It's pretty fun. This is almost exactly what watching another team's game is going to look like, whether it's college or pro. I'll do one of those just so you can see the difference, but that's basically what's happening. You can watch mode your own games, and when you want to turn it off, you turn it off, and you notice nothing happens. No plays being called. That's because I'm not in watch mode anymore. Now I take control back, and I can call my own plays. And I call this blitz, and my blitzer's terrible, so he didn't run in, and this quarterback gets a ton of yards on me. So that's those options. Now let's say I'm winning 14-3, for example. And we're getting to the end of the game, and I know it's like either I'm getting blown out, or I'm blowing the other team out, or I'm running out of time, or somebody calls on the phone and I gotta go, or whatever, right? I don't want to take the next 5 minutes that it's going to take to finish this game, or 10 minutes. Sim to end is your friend. Sim to end takes where this game is right now, dumps everything into fast sim, and runs fast sim for the rest of the game. Boom, game's over. Just like that. And you can see it simmed the rest of the game, and I ended up losing the game 14-15. That's 12 unanswered points for them. So that was unfortunate. But, they were about to score. I guess that can make sense. So that's what sim to end will do. Now, that's playing a game. And pretty much every game is going to be like that. You play it, you call your plays, you play as much as you want, do in-game substitutions, work your strategy, all that stuff. Sim to end if you don't want to play it. And you do that throughout the season. I don't play every game. I like to do a combination of fast sim and playing. So I might fast sim till I like the Magma, I'm going to play them. And then I'll fast sim a bunch, and then I'll be like, oh, the machine's cool, I'll play them. The fast sim and the play engine I've done a lot of work on making those two match up. The Fast Sim uses a lot of the functions in the regular play engine to resolve its situations, like catching, tackling, things like that. So they're very similar. There's a lot of overlap. There may be some areas where the Fast Sim overvalues certain things versus the play engine, and it might be vice versa too. But overall, they're actually fairly similar. So mixing and matching is not going to hurt your team at all. If you play, if you play 4 of them and sim 12, that's not going to hurt your team that much. Teams that generally would win in the regular game are going to win a generally pretty good clip in the Fast Sim, and teams that sucked in Fast Sim are going to have a really hard time in the regular engine too. So there's no real advantage to doing either. Now, watching a game is fun. It's fun to do it in the pros. It's fun to do it in the playoffs. But what I've started to really, really like is watching games in college. Now, these games don't count for anything. They're just, it's a fun little league. This league is here to make rookies for the rookie draft and nothing else. But if you're going to do that, you have a little fun with it, right? So maybe I want to watch Michigan State at Texas State because maybe I just like one of those teams. I don't know. Or maybe there's a player on Michigan State that I'm watching for the draft. Maybe there's a senior that I'm watching and I'm really interested, like a linebacker. And I kind of want to see how this guy works on the field. Maybe I want him. I'm thinking of trading up to get him if I'm too good, or I'm thinking of investing my number 1 overall pick because I'm terrible. I just want to watch him. You click the watch button, and the game basically starts just like the game you played before, but it's purely in watch mode. You see, the play calling screen never comes up once. It just, you can't do anything. You can't call plays for either of these teams. You can't sub. You can't do anything. You're really here to watch. And you can pause it. If you got to do something, come back. You can flip the screen. You can put it in any kind of mode you want to put it in. Unpause it, and it'll continue to play. Exact same thing if you want to watch pro games. It looks exactly the same as this. So this is watch mode, and you can watch any game that has watch mode. Now maybe you're watching it for a little while and you realize, okay, I've seen enough. I kind of want to play a game. You pause it. Just like before, you can sim to end, and now that game's over, and you can just kind of move on with your life. Go to college schedule. Texas State won that game. So that's how that works. Your controls up here are play my game. We just use that. Finish week does the whole week, including the stuff that happens off the week. You can hit sim CPU games, and what that does is it fast sims every game except for the human game. Now, if you had played your human game first, then sim CPU games, it still wouldn't progress the week until you click finish week. So you would have all the games played, but it would still be week 3. And it wouldn't go to week 4 until you hit this finish week. And the finish week is what does all the off week activities and moves the game forward another week. So that's that. This really isn't part of playing the game, but it's something worth noting that when you finish the week, one of the off-season or off-week activities it does is practice, right? Talking about practice. And what happens in practice is your players get better and get worse based on your coach and how young they are and things like that. And it's not very much each week. It may be a point here or there, but over the course of several seasons it adds up. So something to pay attention to. So like Duffy was not 97 speed when I got him. He was definitely not 99 running when I got him. But over the course of his first 3 years, each week he's got a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better to the point where now he's essentially a running superstar. So that's just kind of the last thing that Finish Week does. Is it runs training camp or practice, not talking about training camp, talking about practice. It'll run that each week, and then finish out the week and progress it. Go from week 3 to week 4. It'll also have AI coaches evaluate any trade offers. It'll have AI coaches make trade offers. It'll have AI coaches extend contracts of the players they have. So those are all the things Finish Week does. And just as an example, like I'll just start my game, sim to end, sim CPU weeks, and you can see we're still on week 4. We haven't progressed at all. Finish week. Now it does everything and goes to week 5. So that's it for playing games. The next video we're going to talk about off-season stuff and all of the off-season activities. And along with that, there'll be more on training camp and things like that. So stay tuned for the next video, and I'll catch you next time.